All right, everyone, welcome out to episode 109 of a Nerd Named Mark podcast. I have a guest this week, and I lured you in on false pretenses, Chris. This is not about Halo TV. This is an intervention for My Dress Up Darling. That's right.
I refuse.
That's right.
I refuse.
I've seen the tweets.
A show is amazing.
And I'm just like, what has...
Have you watched it?
What?
Have you watched it?
It's on my queue. I'm going to watch it. I'm
On
just
your
watching
queue.
other stuff. I've been catching up on other anime. But I was like, I saw the tweets and I was like, what is this? I was like, I can allow Rosario Vampire. I can,
You can allow
Gundam.
Rosario Vampire, but
'Cause it's
not
great.
My Dress Up Darling?
Because it's great. And then I was like, we don't talk about anime a lot. And I'm like, Gundam, this and that. And, Attack on Titan. And I'm like, My Dress Up Darling. I didn't even hear about it until I saw your tweet. And I was like, let me look into this. Let me see what this is. And I'm like, all right, Chris. I was like, But yeah.
But yeah, you can't take away My Dress Up Darling. It is endearing. Kitagawa and Gojo are, they come from such different backgrounds, but together they make a happy couple. And I wish he'd get over himself, and I wish she would take the initiative.
I will just say in 2022, it is refreshing that, you can watch rom-com, slice of life anime and no problems at all. But when I used to watch shit like that, now I'm not saying you, but I'm saying there was no social media, it wasn't trending. It's like, oh, I'm watching Mahoromatic, and they're like,
I love that she
okay.
says phrases like "totes my goats."
You like those little
Yeah.
little zinger one-liners? Yeah. But no, I
Yeah,
did
I'm
look
here
it up.
for that.
I did look it up, and I was like, okay, it's on the queue. I'm catching up on a lot of other anime right now because I have my Yokai Watch Volume 1 to open and watch. I love Yokai.
Oh, I have something to open as well that I have to do. We're never going to get to why we're here.
Oh, we will.
It was the deal of the day on Best Buy. I have a Gundam Maximum Gold Eldorado. It is 4 booster packs, 7 cards each, 2 premium gold rares, and 5 gold letter rares.
Listen, if you saw the amount of booster boxes that aren't in frame right now for freaking the Digimon card game.
But this is Yu-Gi-Oh! So this is the card game that's relevant to my interests.
It is.
And yours.
It is, yeah.
Mutual interest.
Oh, there is. Trust me.
And look at that. It's still got the peel, the Konami peel on it. The peel of approval.
That's how you know it's legit. Because it doesn't have the little name watermark on it. It's not legit in the wrapping. But no,
because Konami is just so arrogant that they're just like, put our name on it.
Right. Once everything's like moved around, because when I get back from
their first edition, it's first edition. Hold on, let me look at that. First edition.
English edition, first edition, by the way. English edition.
I know.
Not French, not Spanish. English.
No. I don't speak those, but I speak English. I speak English.
Right. I'm just mad I don't have any Yu-Gi-Oh stuff on display, but once I get back, I'm already reorganizing everything around me. And I'm going to have
my dual disc is on the floor.
I'm going to have my dual disc on display on the wall right here. Obviously, I feel bad. Oh, thank you for everyone who's just listening to the audio version. We're showing stuff, so you should probably go over to the YouTube and check that out, because I'm not.
We do it all the time on my show. It's great.
No,
it's tremendous.
It
goes over very well.
Yeah, they're like, what are you talking about? Like, don't worry.
Whole first episode, like Ross is talking about his Retroid, and like I held up my laptop and stuff. I'm like, yo, look at this. It's really nice. And he's just like, yeah, I see that. I'm like, this is great for an audio show.
Yeah. It really, like, that's why I kind of like with the comic books, I'll just talk briefly out of them, and then I'll like have an extended segment on the YouTube version, be like, hey, look at the variant covers and snacks. I'm like, oh, poor audio listeners. But then again, they've been here since day one. So, yeah.
They know what they signed up for.
Yeah. We're obviously not here to talk about My Dress Up Darling. There's a show.
We should be here to talk about My Dress Up Darling, but
maybe after I finish season 1, maybe we'll do an anime episode. Maybe. I don't know. It depends on when I actually watch the show.
I don't know. I'm trying to convince Ross to do Anagen again.
Right. It's been about like 20 years since this game came out that we both enjoy thoroughly, and it had a TV show. And in case those of you who don't know, Paramount Plus, in conjunction with Showtime and 343 Studios and Microsoft.
Can I guess the game?
Yes, guess the game.
Is it Brute Force?
No.
Is it
Close.
Tekken?
I wish.
Is it
That would work.
Street Fighter?
They have an anime.
Um, Jack and Daxter?
Honestly, given the Ratchet and Clank movie, I'm surprised we didn't get one.
The Mega Man cartoon?
I wish.
Yeah.
That would a Proto Man would be so badass, and
What
especially if they did a live action one.
what is this mysterious show based on this legendary franchise you speak of? Because
Destiny.
I'm out of ideas.
It's Destiny. It's
Destiny's not 20
it's
years old.
it's Destiny Zero Sugar.
It's Destiny Ultra 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 Beta.
Yeah. No, Halo is on Paramount Plus. The first episode dropped in 480p quality, and we're all lucky enough to watch it. I, uh,
Can confirm I counted the pixels. Thank you,
yeah.
Paramount Plus.
So I have a nice setup. I have the 32-inch TV right here. I even have my dual monitors, this and that. I loaded up on Google Chrome. I'm like, let me hit play. It was so blurry.
It was so bad that I actually turned on I was like, maybe if I turn on hardware acceleration? So I turned that on and went back, and for like 5 minutes, I was trying to convince myself it was better, and then I was looking, and I was like, "This is still awful.
Yeah. It.
I don't understand."
I had to watch it on
Um,
my phone because
do
I
you
was like,
also have the ad one, like the 5.99 a month one with ads?
I have whatever version has no ads.
Okay, because I wasn't sure if maybe the quality would be different if you
No,
paid
it was
more,
still
but
trash. It was still trash.
yeah.
Like I had to watch it on my phone, and I was like, all right, because it was late, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna go sit on the couch turn on the TV. It's gonna be loud. I was like, put in my headphones. Let me just watch it on my phone. And even then, I was like, okay, at least from a quality standpoint, it's clearer, but from a quality standpoint, it's not visually appealing with the CG. I wish it was blurry. Then I could just pretend that it was really good
So,
CG.
for what it's worth, I watched it again today,
Mm,
and it did actually show in I'm gonna call it quality mode. Uh,
yeah.
uh, and some of that stuff wasn't as bad, but some of it is
Mm,
still
yeah,
rough.
I watched it yesterday on the big screen, this and that, and visually, like it was good. No pixelation or anything like that. But like this time, I guess I was very nitpicky in the first episode, like the first time I watched it, anyways. But like the second viewing, I was like, really, and I was like, oh man, some of the stuff didn't need to be CG at all. Like how are you gonna have the gun be CG when he throws it down? I'm like, what? This
Yeah, that gun was better in pixelation because I didn't
yeah,
notice how awful that looked.
it was floating when
Um,
it landed.
there's also just the issue that like, why would the Master Chief throw away his rifle like that
Yeah, like
when he can just put it on his back?
I know. There's so I guess before we get into our nitpicking, we should go over the premise of the show,
Yes.
which is not the premise of the
It
video
is
games.
non-canon Halo.
Yes, it is fan fiction, but I feel like the word
It's
fan is
Halo
used,
5 interpreted by television.
yes, and by people who don't like Halo.
Well, at least by people who said they didn't play Halo, even though they have a lot of they literally say at
Mm,
one point, like when they go into that cave, the other Spartan comments and says this cave isn't a natural formation, which
there's
is a line from Halo 1.
here's what I think.
So
I think
someone on that crew played
yeah,
Halo.
I think the production team and maybe a few people who are like maybe actors who did the voices and stuff that might have been fans because if you've
At
never
least one of the writers
yeah,
is a
someone
fan.
is because there's no way there's too many nods and fan service stuff for someone who says they purposely didn't play or
Did
the
you
games or anything.
catch the Mass Effect reference?
Oh yes, Commander Shepard, of
Yeah.
course. I
Commander Shepard to the Skillian Response
I
Unit
was
or
like
whatever it was, and I
I was
was
just
like,
like
"Oh,
and I was like, you know what? I want a Mass Effect show. I never thought I would like want one, but I was like, I kind of
isn't
do.
Amazon making one?"
I think
Someone is making a Mass Effect show. Hold
well,
on.
I know Amazon's doing God of War. They announced that. They're also doing Lord of the Rings, The Ring of Power, and they just bought the Hobbit licensing too. So I
Yeah,
don't
Amazon is rumored to be making a Mass Effect show.
great. As long as it's not Paramount Plus, because as of right now,
Henry
yeah,
Cavill wants to be on it.
as he should be Shepherd. I will be okay with that. I just want someone to pick up Gears of War, honestly. I want Gears of War show, but this is Halo time. And the premise, honestly, is a lot. There's a lot going on, but not a lot going on in the first episode. We have refugees, we have people like the resistance against the UNSC, we have the UNSC, and we have the Covenant. And I'm like, that's a lot for one episode. And I feel like some stuff didn't get need to be seen in the first episode. And at the same time, I'm like, why couldn't I don't know. My expectations were kind of high, like until we talked about it off the episode when they said they weren't playing the games or anything. Then I was like, okay, my expectations have drastically dropped a lot.
Yeah, I feel like the first episode, the whole first half is really rough. Um, because there's a lot of like the thing is it's rough because they rush through it to get to the Master Chief.
Yeah,
Because it's all the insurrectionists, and instead of taking the time and building them up, um,
they get slaughtered.
the problem is the show is about the Master Chief, much like the games. And
Yeah,
so when you're trying to tell a story that's not about the Master Chief in a story about the Master Chief, you run into problems.
there's Chiefception.
Yeah. So they're kind of getting through all that stuff. And there's just a lot of like really like made for TV moments that happen in the first half of that show. The situations of, oh, I'm going to angrily scream and run at this target despite the fact that I'm firing a gun and then get stabbed to death
Yeah, I
in
hate that
front of my
trope.
daughter.
I hate that trope so much.
It's so bad.
And it's always the being grabbed by the neck and being held up, but let me look over and do that weird subtle look like, no, no, I'm going to die
But
now.
they almost earned it though, because there was that moment when the Master Chief lands
Yeah,
the first time, and like the guy's looking, he doesn't understand what the Covenant
they
are
just
yet, and he's
nods.
just screaming and shooting at the Master Chief. The
Yeah,
Chief jumps over, kills the elite, and they have that stare down. And the guy's just like, he gives him the nod. The Master Chief looks back and he gives him the nod. And it's
yeah,
just like, okay, we're on the same side right now.
yeah.
And it's just like, okay. And I'm like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, like I just think like a lot of the action and choreographed like scenes in the first like 15, 20, especially all the action was really cool to see.
It just
But
sucks they were using toy guns.
yeah, I just wish
Like
that happened.
The Nerf rifles that they made for Halo, like, have less bend to them than the props they're using in the show.
It isn't. I'm kind of mad we only got like the elites and the grunt. Like I wanted to see like one of the little grunts with the needler going and just like I wanted to see at least one. That's all. And like maybe with like the confetti skull active, so if the confetti comes out, like I just wanted to see. But obviously they're gonna hit more fan service throughout the season. But I think
You know what you could do if you released the
what?
Halo show on DVD? You could activate skulls.
Oh, that'd be
And then you could watch one where, like, every time a grunt dies, you get the grunt birthday party,
that
and
would
that could be, like,
be
an effect that they layer on top of it. So there could be a birthday party mode, and people watch the show, and they're just like, "I don't understand what this is," and a grunt gets domed, and you just hear "pop, hooray!"
that would be great and the best fan service
And the
ever.
characters don't react to it because they don't see it happening.
Yeah. But I feel like if they did that, that would forgive any issues I have when the season's over. Any issues I forgive all of that if that was a thing. I would be like, you know what? This instantly adds 50 points to whatever rating I was going to give it. It's like 50 points to Gryffindor for this. You win. But um I wish the whole action scene, I wish that was later in the episode, maybe towards the end, even maybe kind of like instead of one episode, it should have been like a two-part premiere. So that way there we didn't get so much stuff just jammed in there because the pacing fell off completely. I mean, first we start off with guys in the bar
The
just
pacing
talking
is
about,
brisk.
yeah, they're like UNSC. They're talking about like, you know, the the Spartans as if they're like you've never seen them before. They're a myth and the propaganda, but they don't really go into what the propaganda is and why they're against the UNSC. And then it's like throwaway lines, but they don't really build that up. I think if maybe this was pushed 20 minutes into the episode more around like the 40-minute mark, and then we end it with Master Chief with the surviving girl. I forget so many names.
So, like,
Quana.
I think, like, the issue is that they've established so far, all this show has done is establish that the Master Chief is the main character and the
Hmm.
hero. He does the hero
Yeah.
landing, he does all that stuff.
Oh, that
They've
was the biggest hero
established that
landing
Master
ever.
Chief is basically a superhero in this universe.
Yep.
They have established that the insurrectionists hate the UNSC, and they have established that the insurrectionists are right to hate the UNSC.
Yeah.
They have not done anything to make the UNSC a sympathetic group. Now, mind you, if you play the games, all you would get is like the Oorah Marines UNSC, feet
Yeah.
first into hell. Like that's what you get from the games. It's very pro UNSC because you're just fighting for the UNSC. There's no mention of the outer colonies. You're fighting the obvious evil aliens.
Yeah.
The books tell a story of a two-faced UNSC. There's the UNSC that wants to unite everybody to defeat the Covenant. There's the UNSC that ends up allying itself with like the Sangheili and stuff like that to, try and establish their place in the galaxy. And then there's the Oni side of the UNSC that's doing like black ops shit and like, really out there trying to make a mess of everything and assassinating people and destabilizing governments. They haven't even gotten to Oni and they make the UNSC look awful. And they haven't built Keys into anything yet. And Keys is a huge hero. I think the guy they got to play Keys is really good. And I think Miranda Keys is also really good.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just they haven't done anything to and then we're just getting into it. We're talking full spoilers, right?
Oh no.
Yeah. The
Full.
fact that the episode ends with the Master Chief going rogue.
Yeah.
The first episode
Mm.
ends with the Master Chief going rogue. Only further emphasizes that the UNSC is shit.
And that's one of the issues too I had. I was like, I wish this was like a build up over time. Make me like two, maybe 3, 4 episodes in, then Chief goes rogue. Like
So
have him
yeah,
question everything before just deciding. Okay, like I'm going. Oh, by the way, everyone, Chris is a guest because he already mentioned books. Chris has read books. He's played the games. I do not read those books. I have them, have not read them. So I need someone who's knowledgeable on the lore. And guess who's knowledgeable on the lore and everything with Halo? It's Chris. Chris is
so I
that's why.
there is a really good series of books that I feel like this series is going to take a lot of inspiration from. There is the Forerunner Trilogy of books.
Well, don't
Um,
forget they can't take inspiration from it because remember they didn't read any of the books and they didn't play any games.
No, I'm sorry. There's two trilogies that I think, but they're 343. So there's the Forerunner saga, the Forerunner trilogy of books, which establish the backstory. So I think there's going to be a lot of Forerunner talk in this show. So the Forerunners were established. So all that book trilogy basically established everything for Halo 4.
It's a good Halo
So they're
game.
going to take a lot from that, but there's also a series of 3 novels by Kelly Gay. One of them is a short story, I believe it's Smoke and Shadow, and then there's 2 other novels that take place on like other installation. It's a story where basically there's like this group of like salvagers,
Okay.
and they're just trying to like exist in the outer colony area, and she ends up finding Guilty Spark.
Okay.
More or less, she ends up
Okay.
finding Guilty Spark, and he's not dead.
I'm gonna have to read these books
And so,
eventually.
huh?
I have to read these books eventually at
If you
some point.
listen to the audiobooks, one of them is actually done by Tim Dadabo, who voices 343 Guilty Spark,
Oh,
and it's
nice.
very good.
I was gonna do
One of the
audiobooks. I'm too
one of
lazy
the
to read.
Forerunner trilogy books actually is about him, how he became 343 Guilty Spark, and it's also voiced by Tim Dadabo. It's very good.
Hmm.
But basically, it goes into how it's the darker side of the UNSC. So this whole
Yeah.
trilogy is about how the UNSC, just like they know she has 343, and they're just like, okay, we're gonna do everything we can to fuck these people over and just make sure we get what we want. It's the dark side, it's the Oni side of the UNSC. And so I feel like that's all they're surfacing in this show because that's the stuff that's hot right now. That's
Yeah.
the most recent trilogy of books and stuff like that. Like that's all the stuff that I read leading into Halo Infinite.
I as much as like I feel like there may be elements from the books, I feel like there may be some things that are like parallel or overlap from the books and in the show, but I feel like
So
they're going more their own
they
thing.
are, but I think that those books are going to be something 343 mentioned to them.
Oh yeah,
Of
no,
like, hey, here's this recent thing we did that talks a lot about the UNSC because they obviously know about the first game because they have Captain Keys. They obviously know about how Spartans are created. So they obviously read The Fall of Reach.
that's why I
So
don't
they know about the Fall
understand.
of Reach.
That's why I don't understand. They did interviews saying they didn't play the games or any of the books or anything, and it's like, well, everything in this first episode from a fan service or like referencing things that have happened in the books or the games, that's not something someone who hasn't
Yeah.
done anything with Halo would
Somebody
know.
did their homework.
Yeah. Oh no,
There
100%.
are clear references, there are clear allusions to things that take place in the Fall of Reach. There are clear references to things that happen in that Kelly Gay series of novels. And there's very clear throwbacks to situations that happen in the games. And
Even
there's
the
just a
shield, even
general
when he was
there's a
getting,
general throwback
yeah,
to video games with that
oh, yeah,
Commander Shepard thing.
yeah.
You don't just do that, you
No,
know?
I will say also from sound effects when he Master Chief lost his shield and it was coming back on, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I was like, I know that noise. I hate that noise so much.
Oh yeah, they sent them just the
Oh yeah,
audio file, I bet, for
oh yeah,
that.
no, and that was good. And even like, so I guess before we start talking about more story stuff and more spoilers, what did you think of the theme? Because it was kind of like started like Halo-y, and then it went very. I don't know if you've ever seen Westworld, and I got very strong Westworld vibes from the intro like theme
I
song.
think the Halo theme is better than all video game music is general in general is better than anything on TV.
Mm.
And I think they're trying too hard to differentiate it when they should just be going all in. The Halo theme is iconic, and I will not stand down from this. The Halo theme is iconic in the same way that Mario is.
Yeah,
The Halo theme is a theme that when people hear it, they're like,
you know,
oh shit, that's that Xbox game. Even if
that's.
they don't know what Halo is, somebody has heard that before.
Oh yeah,
And they're
no,
like, "Oh, that's that Halo game."
that's the Master
They
Chief
know those
song.
chanting monks, they know when those
Yeah.
cellos hit, and they're just like, "Oh, I played that on Xbox 360."
Yep.
You know?
The member berries kick in real quick. You're like, I remember. Those
I
are good.
remember.
Like,
But
but
like
no,
like
I did
that's the
like the
thing. You could play
visual.
that
Oh yeah.
at a trivia night and everyone would get that right.
Oh, 100%. I just like like the opening with like the theme. It kind of started Halo-y, then went its own things, but I like the visual of like everything appearing
The
on him,
visual
the
stuff is
sand.
cool.
That was cool. And I was like, how does this intro video look so good from a CG animated standpoint? And like, did they put a majority of the budget in the intro? Because a lot of stuff just seemed very flat and undetailed for my liking. For and like I said, being a Halo fan, as you probably will attest, um, even without seeing, if we went in blind, no trailers, not reading any interviews about it, our expectations would be pretty high for this. I
Yeah.
mean, if in like we talked about it, I got to throw back to our Spider-Man No Way Home thing. I was able to separate, my knowledge of comic books whenever a comic book movie comes out. But for video games, I'm just like, I'm very adamant. I don't want a 1-to-1 of what I play in the game on the screen. I've already played that game. I've already seen that. I've already seen the story play out in front of me, and I got to control Master Chief. I don't want that on TV, but there are elements of it that should be brought over at least.
See, I think there's some value, which I think is kind of how like the Last of Us show is going to do it. I think there's some value because when you take that one to one, like I look at that in the sense of like there's a book, one of the books, Halo: The Flood, is literally the events of the Halo ring in Halo 1. So it's a retelling of the story of the Master Chief on Halo, but there's side stories going on of like the Covenant and of the other like the Marines and stuff that are on Halo.
Yeah,
So there's them and them like establishing their base of operations, getting attacked by the Covenant and stuff like that. So in a scenario like that, I think there can be value in letting the Master Chief story be the Master Chief story, let it be this established thing, and then supplementing it with additional details.
yeah, Like there's overall like
But
the
there's
overall
also there's
story could be used, like the overall story of Halo with the Halo
yeah.
rings, the Covenant, the Flood, that could be used. But it's okay if what happens in between all the major parts is different. Like I ran a side story, Uncharted. I really enjoyed that movie. Obviously, you haven't seen it. I'm not going to spoil anything for you. But going into it, I already knew this is Uncharted. I played Uncharted. Like I love that franchise. That's one of my more. That's my favorite Naughty Dog franchise. And I've played all these games. I know the story. I don't want this movie to be Uncharted One. I don't want this to be Uncharted Two. I don't want this to be the flashback scenes from Four. I don't want any of that. I want this to be its own thing. And I went in just being like, hey, like, and then what I got, I enjoyed. Same thing with Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. I was like, I played Resident Evil. Resident Evil is my favorite horror franchise, my favorite video game franchise. I played Resident Evil 1. I played all the way through 8. I played the side stuff. I played every game, Code Veronica, Revelations, Revelations 2, Operation Raccoon City, the really, really bad, shitty one that no one liked. Played them all. And I was like, going into this, I was like, if I get elements of it like costume design, set pieces, I'm happy. Whatever you do for the story, as long as it's zombies, there's still a T virus, and characters are named the way they should, I'm not going to complain. And I really enjoyed it. And it's one of those things like where with Halo, I'm like, okay, I want, like, there's certain things I want. I want Master Chief, obviously. I need, I mean, obviously, we're not going to get the birthday party skull, but I want him to take the pistol and like pistol whip one of those little grunts at least one time in the back. So it goes, ugh, and you hear the thud. I just want it one time. That's it.
You
They
hear the
did really,
crunch.
yeah. The plasma sword looked amazing. Somehow
Yeah,
that
the sword
that
looked good.
and I just want the overall story. If I don't get the flood in season one, I'm okay with that. Set
I
up the
have a
world.
prediction. I have a
Okay,
prediction for
we'll go
how
to
season one's
we
gonna
will
end.
go into predictions towards, but I want like certain things. I want them to be on the Halo ring. Obviously, I want Master Chief there. If we get the broods, elites, grunts, all that stuff, that's fine. I want to see some plasma grenades in action. I think that would be really cool to see. My warthogs, everything like that, and the overall story of the Halo rings and the Covenant and this and that. I don't want it to be a show though, where it's very uh, where the whole they covered too much on like the propaganda of things of the UNSC, and that's okay to have that as an undertone, but I don't want it to be so focused on UNSC bad. Like I don't want
And
that to be
that's
the
my
main
big
focus.
issue is they villainized the UNSC more than they villainized the Covenant.
Yeah,
Because all we've seen the Covenant attack one colony,
yep, and we
and
don't
then
know why, and we don't know why,
we saw the
but they did it
stupid,
anyways.
terrible bullshit where they had that human whatever going
What
on
was
there
that?
with the
Okay, was that
prophet.
anything?
No,
Was that anything
that's
that has to do?
bullshit, is
Is
what
that
that
new? That's
is.
original. That's nothing that was
They
in the
made that.
books.
This is them trying too hard not to be the game. This is them trying too hard not to be
Uh,
Halo. They have a human character. Let me tell you,
mm,
you don't need to read the books to know the Covenant hate the humans. But if
yes,
you read the books, you will understand. And it is made very clear the elites wouldn't even touch the humans' weapons because
yeah.
they thought they were filthy and unclean. They would rather fight to the death barehanded than pick up a human assault rifle.
That's why I was going to ask you,
They
and I've
would
been
not
waiting.
have a human on their most holy city.
Let
The moment
alone,
the Master Chief
yeah,
showed up, they were just like, kill the demon in Halo 2.
yeah.
And then, like, the humans just sitting there reading a book, and the prophet's just like, oh, that's sweet. Well, maybe leave your book here, sweetheart.
Can you
Maybe leave your
teach me?
book here,
Can you read it to
sweetheart.
me
They're not
sometime?
going to be crazy about that, but maybe you can read it to me. Wouldn't that be fun?
Read it to me during bath time.
The
Also,
CG on the prophet was very good,
yes. Oh no,
I
that
will
was
say.
actually really good. I
Uh,
will say this really quick. That one he's that little nod when the demon. I was like, oh, I
yeah,
was like,
they
I see
did
what
when
you.
they call it a
Yeah,
demon and when he shows up.
I was like, I see what you
Which
did there.
again, they
Yeah,
obviously played the games.
and they had to play Halo 2 for that. Like,
Or 5 because they
yeah,
reference that in
yeah.
Halo 5 too. They're like, "Why did you call him the demon?"
I liked 4 more than 5. I never finished 5.
Yeah,
I watched it all on YouTube before
but
Infinite
that
came
whole
out.
shit with having that human there, it makes sense in context because the humans okay, a lot of this show already, I have to stress to you, a lot of this show makes more sense if you have read the books.
Okay.
So originally in the original trilogy of Halo as Bungie was building it, humans were supposed to be the Forerunners. But in the Forerunner trilogy, um, They changed it. 343 changed it. They made the Forerunners their own race. They were at war with the humans, whatever. But basically, what happened was the Forerunners have this thing called the mantle that they believe in. It's the mantle of responsibility. So they feel they're responsible for all life in the galaxy. And so basically, that mantle was supposed to go to humanity, but it didn't. The Forerunners had it. And so the idea is that the humans are supposed to have the mantle of responsibility, which is what allows them to interact with Forerunner artifacts.
Okay.
But and that's why when the Didact shows up in Halo 4, he's like, you have not yet claimed the mantle, then there's still time to stop this.
Yeah.
You know, that
That's
kind of
what
thing.
that's what was like the main thing I've been like trying not to ask you because I wanted to wait for the show, but it's been bothering me since I saw the premiere was that girl with the Covenant, and I was just like, no, there's no way. I didn't read the books, but there's no way a human would, and even from not even a standpoint of maybe obviously manipulating her to learn more about the humans, but there's still no way because they are so against humans that
E-
that would be she would be in a cage or something like that. They wouldn't have her just freely walking around in some weird, really awkward Sith robes.
even ignoring the books, just look at Halo 3.
Yeah.
What they did with Sergeant Johnson when they
Ugh.
were like, I hate to admit, but I still need you. And they had him manipulate the controls. Because the
Yeah.
idea is that the Covenant cannot manipulate Forerunner technology that way. They can't activate Halo because they are not Forerunner. The Forerunners respected humanity enough as their greatest enemy that they gave them, the librarian passed them the mantle essentially. So when they were reborn, they had the opportunity to be what the Forerunners were.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing. So
That
that's
was
why they can
yeah.
manipulate those artifacts, and that's why no one else, none of the Covenant races can,
Yeah.
because they weren't chosen, by the Forerunners.
Okay. See, that's one of my
So
things. I was like, I don't know, like, what's going on with that? Because I was like, was there any like? Because maybe I overlooked it the second time around. Was there any references at all to Johnson in this?
not yet.
Because I was just like, as much as I would want, it to be its own thing and it doesn't have to follow everything from the Halo story. I was like, we need him in this show. He has to be on this show.
He has to show up at some point.
Like, and he needs a cigar and he needs to be that like boots to asses like sergeant. He can't like they cannot
God's own
tone.
personal anti son of a bitch
Yeah,
machine
yeah.
or a giant hula hoop.
He yeah. He cannot be
You need
watered
that.
down. He can't be watered down. If anything, you could turn it up to like 110.
Yeah.
I don't want him watered down on the show. Like, and like, because there's so many things. Like, obviously, a lot of people like. I went and I looked at the hashtags, which I shouldn't have done. Because let's face it, if you want to enjoy anything in the world, don't look for it on the internet. If you want to just enjoy something and not be bothered, like if you want to just if you enjoy the Halo TV show, I'm not telling you you shouldn't. Okay, everyone should enjoy it. Like I enjoy it. I had issues with it, but it's not a shitty show. But don't go looking at hashtag Halo TV show because you're gonna get a lot of stuff blown out of proportion and a lot of narratives being pushed for things that aren't in the show because a lot of people are reaching. But I will say, a lot of people were like, "Oh, no Cortana." This and that. I was like, they already built up what's going on with the Cortana situation. Did you not pay attention? It's gonna happen. I don't like the pacing already in the first episode. I had issues with if they had just rushed and given us Cortana right at the end. I would have been like, okay, you basically just wasted. You just combined 4 episodes in 1 hour,
Yeah.
like worth the content. But because that's the one thing I like am the one thing I'm like, okay, it hasn't happened yet. This could still redeem the show for me. Make whatever story you're revolving around Cortana, let it make sense. Don't rush it and make it good. That could be the redeeming quality of the show.
I can tell you one thing with certainty that is going to happen with Cortana.
To be
When he
AI.
puts her in, she's going to say, "Don't forget to keep your head down. There's two of us in here now, remember?" She's
That's
going to say that.
that's the
She
fan
has
service.
to say that.
That's the fan service I like.
Frankly, if she doesn't, the show is a complete failure. Like, it's
Speaking
right there. Take it. Take the low hanging fruit.
man, speaking of keeping the head down, I guess we got to talk about the elephant in the room of the episode. Master Chief taking off his helmet.
I'm glad they did it. I'm glad they did it. I'm glad
I
they did it early. I'm glad they got it out of the way. It was
I
fine. There
it,
was nothing wrong
yeah,
with how they did it.
it made sense from a story standpoint because they even said there's a reason.
Contextually, it was good.
Yeah,
He
in
earned the character's
context.
trust.
Yeah, so
He
it makes
showed that
sense.
he's a person.
Yeah. My thing is he kept it off the rest of the episode after he took it off because I was like,
Yeah.
okay, you did it. You can put it back on now because I, I just nothing against the actor. I mean, he does a decent Master Chief voice. His face, he looks like he's a not a seasoned Master Chief. He's he looks a little younger. Like he's not grizzled looking. Like he's seen some shit. He's still got a clean face even though he's got like the scruff. He hasn't got some no wear and tear on the face.
What
But
I
obviously
what
that
I
armor would protect it. But I wanted the helmet back on after because I was like, no. Can you? I don't want. I hope it's not one of the things where he's just gonna while they're flying around. He's like, I'm just gonna keep my helmet off. It's like, no, you're Master Chief. You put that fucking helmet on.
Yeah,
You keep,
like again, in the same way that look is iconic. Everybody
yeah.
knows that gold visor, green helmet.
Oh yeah.
Like people can pick the Master Chief out of a lineup. Um, Out of a super soldier lineup, you can pick out the Master Chief. But
The Master
the one thing,
Chief.
yeah, don't
The Master.
I got the wearable one.
I know. Well, I built this, and I'm proud of
I
myself
know I
because
got to
this
build mine
visor was
still.
one piece, and I had to bend it, and it was horrible. I still have
But
to make the plasma sword.
the one thing that I will say that I like that they did, and one of the few things I really think 343 did do a good job of is kind of breathing. Oh, hold on. If we're gonna show props, hold
No,
on.
I see. Chris
Hold on.
has the helmet. Okay, Chris beats me
No,
when it
but
comes to that. I have, yeah, I
I
have a
have the Nerf Bulldog,
I have the
and
needler in my closet, but I don't know. I don't want to really get that out right now. I like that one. That's
I
the one I
have
like.
the Nerf assault
Yeah.
rifle.
When I get the 3D printer fully set up, I'm printing a Master Chief helmet and I'm printing full armor. Like that's happening. And I'm gonna walk around and be like, but yeah, no, there's
Just walk around.
yeah,
Dun, 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 dun,
yeah.
dun, 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 dun,
No, I
dun,
have all
dun.
the STL files for the Master Chief full Spartan armor, and it's gonna take forever to print out and paint, but I will. That's my goal for like 2023. But
But yeah, the one thing I think they did really well is breathe personality and humanity into the Master Chief, and
yeah,
I like that. Some people aren't going to like it, but I like that because one of the big things again, I'm as much as I'm a Halo fan, I'm kind of a bad Halo fan right now because I'm not playing more Infinite until co-op comes out because
same.
one, the game's not finished yet
No,
because co-op still isn't in it.
I'm waiting
You
for
can't
co-op
change
too.
my mind. Co-op has always been a part of Halo. The fact that it's not there means the game's not done yet. They should
No,
have delayed it another year. I can't believe that game was delayed a year and it still came out a year too early.
yeah, and that's the thing
But
is like
anyway,
I'm waiting for co-op also. So it's a
a lot
sidetrack.
of
I'm waiting
that
for co-op.
story from what I have played is about the chief continuing to learn the lesson Cortana tried to teach him in Halo 4 when she was like, by the time we're done with this, please tell me you'll figure out which one of us is the machine.
Yeah,
And the Master Chief is slowly embracing his humanity. And there's a lot of good moments in Halo Infinite, as cheesy as they might be, of him being a person.
yeah.
And I like that, he had the jokes and she's like, what, you don't eat? And he's like, I didn't see anything I liked. She's like, what do you like? He said,
Like,
nuts,
nuts,
bolts,
bolt.
microchips.
Yeah,
And she doesn't react. So he looks and he's like, that it was a joke. And she's like, I
yeah,
know.
yeah.
But like,
Those are
that's
funny.
cool. That's the Master Chief
Yeah,
trying to like
and
it makes sense. He makes an
yeah,
awkward joke in an attempt to have conversation because here's a guy who I'm assuming they're still going with the theory that he's mostly isolated, mostly
yeah.
just among his own kind, which is how the Spartans were. They were socially like
And
reclusive, like they just stuck to themselves.
well, that's what if you
They
go back and
had like social disorders.
yeah, if you go back and look at the play the games, like for Halo 1 and 2, he's a very static character. It's Cortana that's like the charisma and personality
He was
and
good in 3.
Johnson. That's what I'm saying. 1 and
He was
2
really
very
good in
yeah.
3.
That's why 1 and 2 very
Figured
static,
I'd shoot
very
my way out,
very stoic. And
mix
you had
things up a little bit.
yeah, you get and then you start to get him like loosened up a bit in 3, but 1 and 2 is very monotone, no, very cut and dry. And you had Johnson there as like charismatic, hard ass. You had Cortana with, her personality and charisma. Everyone else around him had personality. He was just the Master Chief because they set up the demon. He was the murder machine, the Covenant murder machine. And now you can't do that in a TV show, though. You can't have him be flat and one dimensional for a whole season and not have glints of. There's certain things you have to rush Like you had, and not rush from a standpoint, but
I don't
something
think they rushed it. I wouldn't
not
even
rush.
say
You know,
they
rush is a
rushed
poor
it.
word. Rush is a poor word.
I think
Something
they're
you can have the
handling his I'm sorry, go
you
ahead.
have to have the character development a little quicker than a video game. It's
Yeah.
like a video game, you got to play missions, and like those missions could be like a 5 minutes worth of TV screen time. So it's like you don't want to wait until like a Halo 3 for some personality to come out of them. You want 2/3 of the way through an episode finally, like, and it's not even fully out of his shell. Like he made one very dry joke, and it showed that he's trying and he's not fully there. That was not a good. That was a funny joke for people who like dry humor, like I get it, irony, but it wasn't like he's a comedian now. It was just one little harmless joke that didn't work, and there's a lot of people blowing it out of proportion. Like Master Chief wouldn't make a joke. I'm like, well, if you played the Halo games,
I
it's
literally just quoted the
yeah,
joke.
it's like you guys, it's in the game. It's not in the first
He
game. It's
says it all
not.
the time in the first Halo. And Cortana pops up. She's like, how'd you sleep? She's like, did you sleep well? And he's like, no, thanks to your driving. Yes.
Yeah,
You know,
and that's why I'm like, you know what, like it's it worked in the show. The pacing for his character development worked because he's not fully wherever he's gonna be by the end of the show. We're getting glints of what is going on, and but like at the same time, for our first episode, it set up a lot but didn't explain a lot. And the last five, like I said, the first like 15-20 minutes, really good. The last like 5 minutes, really good. It was just the middle where I was just like, this is kind of unnecessary right now. I don't want all this like not conspiracy, but like going with the propaganda UNSC bad, which we've already talked about. Like I just that part of it, I'm like, man, I hope that's not a heavy focus.
yeah, like we
I want
like
Master Chief
the
focus.
enemy is the Covenant,
Yeah,
and I don't think villainizing the UNSC so much this early is doing the show any favors because who are you really rooting for at this point? Because like the Master Chief is the hero, but he's being defiant now. You haven't established his character. So like you haven't established a reason why he would be so defiant to the point where she's like, "Why are you helping me?" And he says, "I don't know."
yeah,
But
and
it's
that's cop
like
out. Like
they haven't done enough to the better way to do it is do it like the games. You have the UNSC feel like this gung ho, like we're gonna save humanity no
the
matter the
Cowboys of the
cost.
universe.
Yeah, we're gonna save humanity whatever it takes, and then you show the darker side later. But there's too many villains in this show already.
Oh yeah, no, there's way
And
like
it's to
that's
the
why.
point where already in the first episode, you have people in the UNSC being like, yo, the UNSC sucks.
Yeah, like what's her
Because
name? The
Miranda is
daughter.
just like,
Yeah,
fuck this shit.
yeah, and I'm just like, so what I would have done if I could, like, if I was writing it, I wouldn't have had Master Chief already leave. I wouldn't even had the opening where it was. I would have had just a no named colony just wrecked by the Covenant and the Covenant leaving, just to set up how brutal, how ruthless the Covenant is. Then later down the road, you start to set up, the UNSC tracking the Covenant, trying to see what this artifact is, what they're figuring out what the Covenant is after. You have a few scenes where, Spartans are deployed, they mess shit up, but I wouldn't show Master Chief yet. I would show Master Chief around two thirds into the first episode. Then there's a colony where you finally have Master Chief do a superhero landing, mess everything up, but it would be one of those the camp that survived with the one survivor. I wouldn't have had that in the first episode, if not towards maybe the last scene of the first episode. I would have built up the Covenant as just that would make it appear as if they're mindless and just going around destroying everything, but then hint at, oh, there's more to the Covenant than that. There's a reason they're looking for something. It's what are they looking for? Then you build up that mystique of like, what is everyone looking for right now? What is going on? And Master Chief finds like, there's so much stuff they could have set
I
up.
I would have done it more like Halo Wars, which is
Ooh,
kind of along the same lines of what you were saying,
yeah,
where you don't even necessarily have the Master Chief until the final 5 minutes, and you do the build up. You have the situation of like, okay, this is going on, this is going on. We're dealing with Covenant. Started off almost like the Halo Landfall trailers, where it's Marines in the thick of it. And like, they're like screaming and everything. And then like you go up to space and there's like Captain Keys and like you see a wrecked Covenant cruiser and then like six wrecked UNSC vessels. And it's just like the Covenant are glassing half the planet. Like that's the thing that people don't get yet They don't understand
Yeah.
how threatening. All they've seen are elites.
That's
No, anybody who hasn't played the game has no concept of how ruthlessly evil the Covenant are. They
it,
know that about the UNSC already, but
right.
they don't know that the Covenant glass the surfaces of planets. They boil planets to death
That's
and
why,
melt the people on them.
honestly, we should have got more of just the UNSC Marines fighting, and that because we only seen Spartans, so we know how powerful they are. But you don't know how powerful they are. We know how powerful they are compared to just normal run of the mill farmers and miners with guns and stuff.
Well, they said one Spartan's worth 100 Marines,
Well, that's what I'm
but
saying.
like
But
if it were
to
me, I would
visually
have
see like
yeah.
Marines themselves fighting the Covenant, and then having like a Spartan drop in just to see the difference in the power, because like now when you see the Marines, you're like, well, if we get Marines going forward, it's like, why do we have Marines now if we've already seen the Spartans? Like, we know these Marines aren't going to do shit against these elites. Like, we already saw elites get steamrolled by Spartans, so it's like, why do we now have to watch Marines like fail? You
Yeah.
can't shoot your load. You gotta earn it. You gotta throw some strokes in there first.
But like I think a good like end of episode one thing could have just been like, you have like Arcadia's under attack or something. The Keys responds, and then all of a sudden, like you just see a video clip of like a planet under attack. And then you just start the theme, and then here comes you just see it like, breaking, Covenant attacking, Arcadia, blah, blah, blah. And then, like in the broadcast, the Master Chief comes up and just starts gunning down elites. And it's just like, today, the Master Chief. And then, like, you zoom in on that battle. And
Yeah.
that's like the last 10 minutes of the
Was
episode. You've
because there was
seen everyone struggling. And then here's the Master Chief just doing what he does, being like a man made superhero.
And that's the thing too. It's like they talk so much about the propaganda. We didn't get enough of it to really be like, well, where's the propaganda? Like,
Well, we
because if
did
any,
when
they were
they tried
talking, yeah,
to
but that wasn't
convince.
enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that conversation, that was, I'm saying from the standpoint, like, what has been happening to make all these people be against the USNSC? Like, this is something that a lot of the stuff is a throwaway
Yeah,
because it's like,
they haven't really established the outer and inner colony like
yeah. And I feel like that stuff should have been done
dichotomy.
first. And like now we're gonna get it after the fact. And I always hate when something's already done and then they have to go out of their way to like
Yeah, they
prove
haven't
it.
earned it, and now they have
Yeah.
to exposition their way out of it.
Yeah. And I hate that. 'Cause that's lazy in my opinion. Because it's like,
Yeah.
well, we already know. Like, it would have been better if, the whole entire time you hear these people talking bad about the UNSC, but everything we see, it's like, are you sure? Like almost like a political thriller or stuff like that. Like I watch a lot of tokusatsu stuff, and the new season of Kamen Rider, there's literally three like organizations, and they already made they're 28 episodes in. The first 20 episodes, they made it seem like this one group was bad, and at the same time, they're subtly being you're subtly getting like throwaway sentences, but then you realize the other group is actually worse and controlling the bad group, and the third group is actually the good one that you didn't even know was a third group, and it's like it was so subtle, and I'm like, that's a buildup. That's good. Like I don't want episode one. Hey, these are the this is the good group that Master Chief is a part of, the UNSC, but they're bad. But also
Like
we have workers who think they're bad too, and we have insurance who think they're bad. But now they're all dead except for one survivor, and now Master Chief is questioning everything, and he's helping this girl. It's like, well, why is he helping the girl? I don't know. You don't
Halo
know.
should
He
have
doesn't know either.
started on that poster. It should have been like it should have looked like Earth, and then it's a zoom out of that poster on the Pillar of Autumn that just says "Fight for Her," and it's just the picture of Earth. Like
Uh,
people don't even understand. Like, dude, like, oh my god, and I hate it. And I'm not trying to be like the elitist, like, oh well, I read the books, but like
like I
people
said, you
don't
read the books. That's why
understand.
you're on this episode because you
But
read the
people don't
books.
understand like the Cole protocol and how important that stuff is. Like they also don't understand yet how drastic the measures are the UNSC are going through. They don't understand how badly humanity is losing this war.
And the show hasn't even set that up.
On average, the UNSC needed a 3-to-1 ship count to break even. It would take 3 equivalent UNSC ships to disable one equivalent Covenant vessel.
See, now all the stuff you're saying right now, if you didn't say any of that, I wouldn't know any of that. The show has not told me that.
I
And
know, and that's the thing is like
that's frustrating.
you don't know that like to protect Earth, every ship had to commence a series of random jumps if they left combat to ensure that they did not lead them back to Reach or Earth.
And that's why I was like, when I was like, okay, I gotta have you on the show in my head, I'm like, one or two things are gonna happen. He's gonna explain enough lore from the books where I'm gonna understand some direction the show could take, or at least some backstory that the show won't take me, which will either help you enjoy the show more, or it's gonna make me wish they actually went back to the drawing board and put some more effort into the
I
show.
feel like I'm kind of giving you both right now.
Yeah, right
You're
now as well,
getting
because
some
we're
context that
one
makes the show
episode,
make sense,
because we're
but you're
one
also
episode
getting
in.
some that it's like, they could have done this better.
Well, we're only one episode in, and
Yeah.
so we already talked about I do the 3 episode rule. I'm giving it benefit of the doubt. I'm gonna watch the show from start to finish regardless, but it's whether or not I watch it every week. And I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful it gets better because one, it's a franchise that I love and I want it to thrive. I want Halo to be around another 20 years. I want people who maybe never played the games to watch the show and be like, I kind of want to play the Halo games.
I want someone else to make a Halo game that isn't 343 Industries.
There's this one studio. They made a couple Halo games in the past, but we know that's not going to happen
Not
because
now that they're owned by Sony.
yeah, Sony will be like,
Yo,
"Oh,
let
Halo."
Machine Games make a Halo game.
I was gonna laugh and be like, "They're gonna make Haze."
Yo, let id make a Halo.
I'd be okay with that. If they make a Master Chief platform, we can give it the Crystal Dynamics,
But
but
like,
that would be a
let the
weird
Doom
platform.
Eternal team make a Halo game and
Dude,
just be like, yo,
okay.
take what 343 built in Infinite
Here's
and
what would
grow it.
here's what would scare me about that: how fast the gameplay would be, and the freaking violent soundtrack. Because Doom
No,
has
but
the most
the thing
violent
is
soundtrack ever.
you would have to keep the integrity of Halo, but you could spice it up. You could speed that game up a little bit. You can
Yeah.
really make the Master Chief feel like a super soldier in a way he
Yeah.
hasn't.
Oddly enough, I have friends who aren't big Halo fans that got Infinite was like their introduction to Halo, and they're like, and playing multiplayer, and they're like, this game feels slow. It should be faster. And in my head, I'm
Yeah.
like, it could be, and it needs more violence. Like, because I love Doom and Doom Eternal. Like, I have Doom 4, Doom 3. I'm a big Doom fan, and I was just like, the soundtracks of those. I was like, oh, can you imagine the Halo intro, and then just 5 guitar solos at once with like freaking gallop beats on the drums and just someone going, and I'm like, oh man,
Yeah, you just have like the
that's a
Halo
hell of a
2
Halo,
theme playing in the background at all
yeah,
times.
right.
I'm
But
trying to
now,
think. I had like the perfect dev lined up that I said they would be perfect to make a Halo game, and I can't think of who it is now.
yeah, but it's the Halo game itself. Like, I don't know the
Oh my
show.
god, let fucking Respawn make a Halo game.
Yeah, that would actually work.
Like Respawn would be perfect. Like I bet they could make an exceptional Halo game.
I mean, it can't be worse than Infinite right now.
Yeah, but
I'm just
like
saying.
there's so many options. Like you know, Microsoft has so many studios,
Mm,
you know, available now to them that
yeah,
like how can you not at least think about it?
yeah, and it's like I don't know. I'm trying not to get down that tangent because like I want to try and stay focused on the show, but like I'm still at the point where it's like
Yeah,
so many
no, I
things. Like
know. I'm
I'm
taking us
honestly
off the rails
no,
again.
I'm still like thinking about this like the human with the covenant. That's still something that has like not sat well with me since I saw that scene.
The only reason they would take a human, the only thing I can think of and what I predict is going to happen is you're going to find out that towards the beginning of the war, they found out that the humans could interact with the Forerunner artifacts. They took a baby from a colony, they raised it, they indoctrinated it, and
Yeah,
then, they're only treating it nice because the human doesn't know to fear the covenant.
yeah,
So the human is their tool to interact because they need the human to interact with the artifacts, which is why I think they're leaning on the Forerunner trilogy. So if you're the type of person who wants to understand what's going on in this show, read the Forerunner trilogy of books. Um, what do they call it? It's Cryptum. It's by Greg Bear. Hold on.
yeah. Because obviously I'm probably gonna check them out on Audible and
That's
listed
that's
them.
where the Forerunner saga.
Yeah.
It's Cryptum, it's Primordium, and Silentium. So
There's a miss.
Cryptum is all about the didact.
Okay.
Primordium is all about the Halo ring that is in Halo Infinite.
Okay.
And then Silentium is about the fall of the Forerunners.
Yeah, I'm
And
gonna.
then there's
I
the
want to go
Kelly
through all of
Gay
them.
trilogy.
I feel I'm eventually gonna go through all of the book series completely. I just wish they would have done what they did with like Dead Space and this and that, and like gave them graphic novel versions. Because, like I said, like I have them on my shelf behind me. I love the Dead Space graphic novels. I like a lot of the video game comic and graphic novels. Like I have a whole bunch of like Life is Strange comics. I have Gears comics, Division. Even Tom Clancy Division has a comic book series, and it's actually really freaking good. It takes place between 1 and 2. But I'm just like Halo. They had the novels, and I'm like, man, I wish they got graphic novel versions because that would be kind of like easier to digest and easier read. Yes, it wouldn't be as detailed, obviously, as reading a book, but it would have been nice to have that option. But I am going to go through all the book series at some point. I mean, start them on
The
the
other
site.
three I think you should read are These are the Kelly Gay books:
Hmm.
Halo Smoke and Shadow, Halo Renegades, and
Hmm.
Halo Point of Light. Also,
Okay.
she's doing a fourth book called the Rubicon Protocol, which is actually one that takes place. It's the other Spartans in Halo Infinite,
Okay.
and
That's
that's coming out this year. That book.
I have to check that. Yeah, I might start
But
that trilogy first
those
then.
two trilogies of books are going to give you, I really believe, a lot of insight into what's going to happen in this show,
Nice.
and they're also going to make the current canon of Halo make a lot more sense.
Yeah, because
But
like I said,
I really
I didn't
believe those
finish
6 books are
5.
going to have a lot to do with this show.
I know, like I had questions about it. So I was like, I have questions about who this character that is. I didn't finish 5. Like, who is this person that apparently thought they killed Master Chief? Like, and you're like, oh, this is I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't finish all these other games, and I don't know. But I do want to get into the book series. Before we wrap it up, do you have any? You hinted at it. Where do you see the show going fully?
I think season 1 is going to end on the fall of Reach. I think that's the best way they can end it, and I literally think the final episode is going to be the fall of Reach. They're going to be on the Pillar of Autumn, and it's going to be the beginning of Halo 1, where they're going to be like, did we lose them? And it's like, we both know the answer to that, and it's like, what is it? It's like, and then Cortana's just going to be like, it's Halo. And
I
then that's how season 1 is going to end, with the panning shot of the Halo ring, the chanting monks,
mm,
and that's going to be the moment. That's going to be the moment that wins me over with this show. If they
espe-
have that and they have the chanting monks, and then it just cuts.
especially because they already renewed it for season 2 before season 1
Season
even
2 is
aired.
going to be on the Halo ring.
Well, see, I'm not even gonna get my prediction now because what you just said, I'm gonna second that. I'm gonna back that. That gets the mark seal of approval on the back of it. I'm just gonna stamp it right on
Also,
there
the
because
Fall of Reach is too good of a storyline to not tell in television. The
yeah,
Fall of Reach is incredible. The book is incredible. The story of the Fall of Reach is incredible. And if they can do it any justice, there's a reason they made a game about it.
sure,
That's all. There's a reason there's a
yeah,
Halo Reach, is
right.
because Reach is fucking cool, and the Covenant wiped it the fuck out
Hopefully, we can get a
because they
Halo.
knew how dangerous it was, so they sent everything after it.
Hopefully, we get a Halo ODST.
I think it'd be cool.
I like ODST. So it's like
ODSTs are great.
that's my favorite Halo game out of all of them. ODST is my favorite. But
ODST is really good.
I know I was playing it again, and the older Halos after playing
Commence
like
the smooth
4 or 5,
jazz.
I couldn't get back into the controls, so I was like horrible for the first hour, and then I was like, oh, I love this. But yeah, I don't really have like I said, I don't really have any thoughts on where I want to see the show go towards the end and predict. I just the little things that have been shown in the first episode, I want not to continue. Like I said, I want his helmet
I'm
back on. I want his
I'm
helmet line to stay
cautiously
on.
I'm cautiously optimistic that they know what they're doing. Um,
Yeah, I'm not.
I'm not like overly impressed with the first episode, but it ended on a high enough note that
That's
I'm
why.
like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm in. And
Mhm.
like, I'm already every Thursday, I'm already going to be on there because the
Yeah.
first thing I do every Thursday is watch Picard,
Yeah.
which Picard season 2 has been exceptional. Everybody should watch it. But after that, I'm already there. And it was funny because I finished Picard and then it queues up another show and it queued up Halo. And I was
Ah,
like, oh,
nice.
okay, this is going to be my every week now. I'm going to watch Picard and it's going to be like Halo episode 2. And I'm going to be like,
Right.
okay.
No, that's the thing. Is like the way it ended kind of got me like hooked back in because I was starting to like get out of it for a while there, and then the ending, and I was like, okay, there's glints. I'm hooked in for an episode 2, so they did their job right. They did their job right. I didn't give up on the show. I was like, okay, now I'm curious where we're gonna go. Let me see if they can keep me hooked like that and just give me glints of home, like hope and like just that they're actually they do have the care to like treat the world of Halo and the lore and the foundation of that game and even do their own spin on it, but keep the core's foundation there, I'm not gonna have any issues. I will enjoy the show. I don't need, like I said, one to one what I played in the game, but there are elements, there are important moments in a thematic presence to it that needs to continue. And I really hope the CG gets better and more polished.
It damn
Because
well better because I
because
think like there are fan projects that
yeah,
look better
oh yeah,
than some of what
because
they've shown in this show.
how many elites were that in the first episode? Like five, six, seven, and
Maybe
yeah,
maybe as many as 11.
yeah. So what are they gonna do when there's a whole covenant army coming in? I'm like, you can't do that to me. Like you got to put the quality in there because if we have a whole army of brutes, elites, and grunts, and it looks like trash, that's gonna turn it off to me completely. Because Master
I just
Chief,
hate seeing the props, like the guns
yeah.
wobble on their
Did you see the
back. Like
cardboard
the
gun?
guns flexing and stuff.
Did you see when the sniper one had the cardboard gun in their hand?
No.
Remember when they used the Covenant gun and they threw it down? If you go back freeze frame, someone slowed it down. They're holding a cardboard prop with no CG on it.
Okay, yeah, no, that gun, that plasma pistol looked awful.
Yeah, when they when they fell, when they the brutes and they were on them, and then they she did kicks, and then when she slid and kicked, then she grabbed the gun and shot down at them. If you
Yeah.
slow freeze frame it, it's actually a cardboard prop. There's no CG on it when she throws it down. It's actually cardboard,
No, I believe it.
and I was just like, "Are you kidding me?"
I just don't understand like that's the thing that offends me the most about this show is that they couldn't be bothered to make it look as good as it should. Like, and part of it is probably because they're trying to disregard the games for the sake of television, but
Yeah,
like Halo is one of the biggest franchises of all time. There's a reason it has books, there's a reason it has a show, there's a reason people have been waiting over a decade for them to transcend, the video game medium and get into TV and movies and stuff like that. And the fact that frankly, a lot of how this episode looked is disrespectful to the fan base. And it's
yeah,
disrespectful to fans of television because it looks cheap, it feels cheap, and it's not as good as it should be. Disregarding the story, like the weapons that the Spartans use look cheap and fake. I have 3D models I bought on Etsy that look better and don't have the flex that their props did.
yeah. Now I sent you a quick link of a screenshot. It's not going to load up max refs. So it's a screenshot from a YouTube video where someone froze it down. It's literally the plasma pistol is literally cardboard, unpainted and everything. And
How
I
did
was
you send
like,
it to me?
right here in the Zencaster link.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, I figured that
I'm
would be
looking at it
easier
now.
then.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow, yeah.
yeah, that's actually a still from like the whole after the shot, the whole entire plasma. That's when they threw it down, and I'm like, wow, there's no excuse for that. Like,
There's no excuse for a lot of what they did.
yeah,
And like it's disrespectful to the fan base because a bunch of their watchers are either people who played Halo or people who told people to watch it because they played Halo.
yeah, it
And
was
they
because
said
people
you should
who,
watch this show.
yeah, there's people who
Word of
never played
mouth is their
Halo,
strongest advertising for this show. And all
and
they've managed to do initially is really upset the fan base that matters the most to this show, the people who are going to be the most vocal about it.
that's the thing. Like, word of mouth could either hurt or make a show.
And I'm not
And
trying, again, I'm not
yeah,
trying to be like the elitist, like,
no,
oh, well, these guys, if it's not
I
good enough for the fans, that, they shouldn't bother.
listen.
It can be good for everybody. But my
Yeah,
point is, it's disrespectful to the fans of the game, and it's disrespectful to
Yeah.
Paramount Plus that they are putting up a show that is not up to snuff in quality. Because you know,
Yeah.
like there was a door, the door when Halsey opens the door to look at like the clone thing,
Yeah.
the door wobbles.
I was gonna nit. I tried, like I said, when we talked on the phone, I was like, I nitpicked in the first one. The second time I just wanted to take it at face value, but I nitpicked even more. And it's one of those things where it's one episode in. I'm trying to be positive because I don't want people to hear us talk about it and just be like, I don't want to see it. Everyone should at least see it, make your own opinion of it. But I will say that, you know, trying to put a positive spin on the show. Like I said, first 20 minutes, great. Last 5 minutes kept me hooked for the next one. I'm trying to take a positive outlook on it because if I'm at the point
In
now
spite
in
of
my
everything,
age,
I want to watch more.
yeah, no. And that's the thing is like at my age now, my main thing is if I don't like something, I'm not going to watch it. And if I don't
Yeah,
like it, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to waste my time and effort to create something like a podcast or a video being negative about something. It's a waste of energy. I'd rather make a video about something I enjoy. So that's why I'm just like, I want the show to be good so I can enjoy it because I enjoy Halo and I want to talk more about Halo. So I'm very hopeful, and it might be blind optimism. Am I allowed to say blind optimism, or do I get canceled for saying that? Blind optimism. I don't care. And it's just one of those things where it's like, I want the show to be good. I want it to succeed because they already gave it a second season. If the show sucks, shit rolls downhill. That means I'm not going to watch season two. Like I won't care about season two. But if the show's good, like give me a great first season, give me a crappy second season. I don't. But like I just want it to at least be enjoyable. That's it. I want to
yeah,
enjoy Halo because I'm not enjoying Halo Infinite.
yeah. I just want like I want the quality to be up to snuff because there are lesser properties that have gotten better treatments
Oh yeah,
than Halo is getting right now.
Twilight.
And like Halo, I don't want it to be like, oh well, it's based on a video game, so you know, it's just got to be good enough. No, Halo needs to be better than that.
True.
Like Halo always needed to be better than its peers in the shooter space.
Yeah.
Halo set the standard for 2 decades of shooters that followed it. And like and it's still the ripples of it, you know, as much as
Yeah.
Call of Duty has changed the game since then, Call of Duty got where it did because Halo ran so Call of Duty could sprint.
I will
Like
say I think a lot of people don't realize like when Halo was in its heyday of like what Halo 2 or just before Halo
Halo is the
3.
reason you're playing
Yeah.
shooters on a
Because
console.
the first Call of Duty I played was actually on the Wii, and it was like Call of Duty like 2 or Call of Duty 3. And it was right before Halo 3
It
came
was
out. It was
4,
two
I think, if it was on the
was that
Wii.
yeah, and that game was garbage for a shooter. Whereas Halo at the time had evolved from 1 to 2 and 2 was going into 3 around that time frame. And that was one hell of a shooter.
Like I'm
And
telling you, the reason you play shooters on a console on a controller is because of Halo.
yeah, because at the
And
time Medal
Call
of
of
Honor was
Duty
trash. Well,
Call
except
of
Medal of
Duty
Honor
isn't
after.
what it is if Halo doesn't set the standard for how to be a shooter on a console. Because Call of Duty is still bigger on consoles than it is on PC.
Oh yeah,
And without Halo doing what it did when it did, maybe we still get there, but it takes that much longer.
yeah,
We
and
The industry owes a lot to Bungie and to Halo for doing what it did, and this show should at least respect that legacy.
and I don't.
Even if it doesn't tell that story, it damn well better respect that legacy.
And that's why like one episode in I'm not making that judgment call that it hasn't. There's a lot of people who have already shut off to the show after the first episode,
Well, we
have
don't know. It's
already.
just one episode, but
That's
I'm
what I'm
just
saying.
saying
I know I'm saying there
they
are people who have already shut off to it,
they have
already
a lot to
deemed it
prove though.
dead, already deemed it trash. And I'm like, I cannot say that after one episode. It's not like an MCU show where 6 episodes. So you have to put all your eggs in the basket in that first episode because you only have 5 episodes left. So you better hook someone in, like Falcon and Winter Soldier or WandaVision or Moon Knight, even Moon Knight, which is about to come out this week. You got, if it's 6 episodes, that's different. You have to hook us in the first episode. You have to give us that good. You don't have the luxury of long-term story and pacing. You in Halo right now, one episode in, it's passable. I give it a passing grade. It is not perfect, but it's not crap. There are glints of things that shine through it that can work.
Can I give you a perfect example
Yes, give me the perfect
of
example.
how to do it right? Did you watch Arcane?
No.
Can I tell you? You absolutely should. That
Oh, I plan
show
on it.
has won so many awards. I binged it. I didn't watch it for the longest. I was on my anime kick and I was
Yeah.
like, I was going through and I was like, okay, I have all these subscriptions. I need to start watching stuff on them.
Yep.
And so on Netflix, I was like, what? I'm going to watch Arcane. I tell
Yeah.
you what, by the end of episode 3, I was almost in tears. And then
I
I had to watch the rest of it. I was up late. I was up until like 4 in the morning one night, like just watching the rest of Arcane.
oh
I went
wow.
to work tired the next day, but it was so worth it. That show is incredible and is so respectful of the source material
Like I plan on
of League
watching
of
it.
Legends.
I've
And
heard
it's like,
nothing negative about it. I've heard nothing but good things about it.
it's so good that I almost installed the game again.
Wow. You could
I'm not going to do that because
you could install
I
Teamfight
can't do
Tactics.
that.
Teamfight
But
Tactics.
no, I can't. I'm not
What about
getting
League?
involved in that again.
I can bring
But
out
I'm
Twisted
telling
Fate.
you, I'll tell you this though. The day I'm not waiting again to watch Arcane, the day Arcane season 2 comes out, I'm binging that start to end. I told anyone who would listen to watch Arcane.
That's perfect.
Anyone who care, I was like, watch this show. It is incredible. And like, I want I want every show to be as reverent and as like respectful of its source material as Arcane is to League of Legends.
So obviously that is a good example because like I said, I've heard nothing negative, heard only positive things. Before we get back to Halo, one thing about installing League of Legends, gentleman Cho'Gath.
There's a gentleman Cho'Gath reference in episode
I
1
know.
apparently. Yeah.
I saw a clip of it, but I'm
Yeah.
saying you could play as gentleman Cho'Gath. I can bring out Arcade Sona,
I don't
bring it
have
back.
Cho'Gath, I don't
I do.
think.
I can
Yeah,
be
I know
gentleman
you do.
Cho'Gath.
I would
Of
play
course.
as Vi. Excuse you. I would
Okay,
play
whatever.
as Vi.
But yeah, but no, that is like that's
She's
the
my
thing. Like
favorite character anyway, and it's about
I've
her.
heard nothing negative about that. Halo right now, like I said, one episode in, I'm not
But I'm
gonna
just
say it's
saying
bad
it,
or
it
good.
can absolutely be done.
Oh
And
yeah, no,
listen, you're not going to make Arcane about League of Legends because
no.
there's nothing to turn about League of Legends into television.
Sure,
But
there's
like,
a one whole arc where Twisted Fate is just solo at a mid lane walking around.
yeah. And then
That's it.
Mark made him AD again for some reason. Welcome to
Dude,
season 2.
I could ADC all day. I don't care. People say like, "Why do you ADP?" Like, screw you. I'm ADC. I don't care what anyone says. I do what I want.
But
You want a yellow
like
card? Boom.
you can totally take a source material, basically ignore the game and then still just make an incredible world. And that's the thing is like Halo right now is kind of treading too many lines between the games, the books, and television, and
Yeah.
it doesn't know what it wants to be
It
and it doesn't know
doesn't
how
have
far it
its
wants to
own
go in any direction.
identity. It doesn't have its own identity as a show
If they
that's
were
based on
gonna
Halo.
if they were gonna do their own thing in their own universe, I think they should have done more to separate it.
Yeah.
But like I think they're wasting a lot of opportunities by not, taking advantage of the things that happen in the game and by trying to do their own spins on all this.
Sorry, I'm not distracted. Just Julie's watching this weird show where people make Lego stuff and compete. And some
Yeah.
of the shit they're building is crazy.
Yeah.
And
People are incredible with Legos.
they don't even have instruction manuals. I'm like,
No,
no
some people are just creative with those things.
dude.
I'm not.
Even with instruction manuals, I'm like, am I stupid? It's literally telling me which color, what size to use, and like I mess up, and it's like literally.
Yeah, and I still mess it up and then I
I
got to
was like,
take half of it apart.
why is this ages 7+?
I'm
Like,
like, where did this brick go? I'm supposed to
dude,
have 2 more of the
speaking
6
of,
dot bricks.
I've been diving into the Demon Slayer nano blocks. These things are so cool. Like I have, you can't see it, but it's kind of right here behind me. Those 2 display cases right there, all nano blocks. I got like 50 of them done now. I have like over 30 something Pokemon ones built, and I built some of the Common Riders. I got almost the whole entire Demon Slayer line done, and then the rumor is they're gonna have some Attack on Titan ones. So if they do that, I'm gonna get those. But that's off topic. But no,
Oh
there's a lot
fuck,
they.
the new episode of Attack on Titan came out today.
Yep, I gotta,
Oh shit, I
I
got to
gotta watch that
watch that.
Jujutsu Kaisen movie. I've been watching season 1.
I've been
We get
watching Sword Art again.
I mean,
I
I
just
saw
finished
that.
season 2
I
again.
know we're gonna have to do an anime episode soon.
It's really
Like,
good. It's way better
is
than I remember. This is the first time I've just completely enjoyed Sword Art Online beginning to end.
I
But I haven't watched the movie or season 3, so this is all going to be
that's where
new
I
to
fell
me and
out.
I'm very
3 is
excited.
where I stopped. I got like into 3, but I couldn't get into 3. I
I
started
heard
watching
3
1
is
and 2 were
really
good.
season 3 is really good.
Is that the gun game
So,
one?
huh?
Is that the gun game one?
No, Gun Gale
Or
is season 2.
oh yeah, Gun Gale season 2. 3 I
Gun
feel
Gale's
like
really good. I like Gun Gale.
yeah. I still like season 1. 1 is still
S-
like my favorite. That tower, like some of those fights and the scenes and this that were just like so
I
damn
love when he
good.
solos that boss
Right?
when
Like
he pulls out the dual wield. Oh my
everything
god.
that season 1 of that show is I hold that in like the upper echelon of my
Did you ever
favorite anime seasons.
did you ever watch Log Horizon?
No.
You should. Imagine Sword Art,
Hmm.
but death does not mean you die in real life. Instead, it means you lose memories of real life. But
Ooh.
instead of trying to finish the game, there's no foreseeable way out of the game, and so you turn to diplomacy, and it's characters learning to exist in the world of the game, and the NPCs have basically become sentient. So like they basically like make their own faction, they make their own city, and then
Oh
like
wow.
the NPCs are just like, okay, come to the table, let's talk, let's figure out how we're going to run this world together.
You have to text me the name of that so I don't forget.
Log Horizon. It's Sword Art, but diplomacy instead of violence.
Nice. But I was going back, like I started watching Metabots again because I got season 1. I found it at Book Off,
Nice.
and apparently they released in Japan a hit my mic, big collector's edition that has every Metabots game ever released,
Hmm.
and the case is like gold and this and that. And I love Metabots, but it didn't get an English translation, obviously, because there's over like 15 games on there. We only got like 4 games released in the U.S. and because Metabots went all the way back to the Famicom in Japan. Like Metabots has been around for a long time, and I was just like,
Yeah,
"Ooh,
Metabots came over here in that 4 Kids era.
yeah." But it was already out for like 15 years in Japan.
Well, yeah, that's how
But
it was back in the
yeah, I
day.
know that's how it is. It's not like now we get
Remember,
simulcast.
Dragon Ball was over by the time we started watching. Dragon Ball Z was like over when we were getting like
Yeah.
Namek Saga. Dragon Ball Z in Japan
Uh,
was already
There
done.
was there was a
GT
store
was done.
there was a store in Manchester I used to go to called Charmed, and I was getting the freaking movie 13 and GT stuff when we were on the Frieza saga when I was in 6th grade, and I was already
Yeah.
getting those and watching them. And people were like, "What's that?" They're like, "Goku's going Super Saiyan." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. I saw him go Super Saiyan 3." They're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Da-da-da-da." It's like
Super
that's what
Saiyan
it is.
3 is like unrealistically my favorite transformation.
Oh,
I don't know why.
100%.
It's just so exceptionally extra. I love it.
Yeah,
Whenever he
I
goes Super Saiyan 3, I'm like, yeah.
dude, I I like that, but then
Super
like
Saiyan
I don't
3 is
know.
so stupid, but I love it.
I'm waiting for the Super to come back because I've been keeping up with the manga for
I've
Super,
been
and
keeping up with a lot of that
holy
stuff too, with like World
shit.
Eater Moro and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
and Vegeta's
And the Spirit
form.
Fission.
Yeah. And I'm like,
Yeah, I
son
want
of
to
a
see
bitch.
Ultra Ego.
That's what I want to see. I want to see all of that in like
I want
the
Vegeta
show.
to get a fucking W. He has earned it.
Dude,
He got
he
shafted in the Tournament of Power.
he's never gotten a
Give the
W.
man a W. No, I'm tired of Goku. Goku sucks ass.
Even
Okay?
Gohan
Quote
got a
me.
W.
Goku sucks ass.
Even Gohan
Gohan
got a
got a
W.
W. He killed Cell. He
Yeah.
killed the best villain in Dragon Ball.
Yeah. I hope Cell's not
Gohan got the
returning.
biggest W. Technically, Goku didn't even kill Frieza. Trunks killed Frieza.
That is true.
Goku sucks.
He really does. Except for
Goku is
Ultra Instinct.
bad and should feel bad.
Except for the Ultra Instinct. That was a nice transformation. Not
Ultra
gonna
Instinct
lie.
was really cool. The coolest thing Goku has ever done is ride the fucking beam from Kefla with the Kamehameha and then blast her in the face. Coolest
That
thing that
yeah.
ever happened in Dragon Ball ever. Do not at me.
No.
That was the peak of all of Dragon Ball, and then Vegeta final flashing Jiren. Those are the 2 coolest things that ever happened in Dragon Ball.
I don't know. I still like Majin Vegeta sacrificing himself. That was actually one
That's
of the most
third.
badass scenes. That is one of the most
That's
iconic
number 3 on the list.
seeds.
Vegeta has 2 of the 3 best moments in all of Dragon Ball.
But no W's.
There's a reason.
But no W's.
There's
And
a reason he deserves the W.
in GT stuff is not canon, so it doesn't count. But them
Also,
doing it.
Vegeta kicked Frieza's ass, and when he did the thing in the movie, he's like, "That's right, I've been a Super Saiyan for years,
Right.
and you didn't know." And I'm just like, "Yes, Vegeta!"
That
And he
how is-
fucking murked Ginyu.
Don't forget in
He
the
just walked
dragon
up to Ginyu, put a beam in his belly, and blew him up. And I'm just like, yeah.
without going past Super Saiyan 2. We forget that's my Bulma.
Yeah, dude. Okay, dude. 4
Dude,
of the top 5 moments are Vegeta.
Super Saiyan 2 slapping around Beerus. Like,
Vegeta is the coolest character in that show. He's the
yeah,
only character who goes through any amount of development.
yeah,
We got to stop. We always get so
yeah,
far
no,
off
yeah.
topic. And
Okay.
this one, I don't think is even my fault this
No, it's my
time.
fault. It's my fault
Okay.
that one, actually. I take the blame for that 100%. But, like, it's okay. It's okay. Because,
You
technically,
brought anime into this from the
it's not
start.
off
You
topic because
chose violence.
I started it
Yeah.
with my dress up darling. So it's like, I earned this. This is a receipt. I deserve this. I brought this onto myself.
My dress up darling though is like a 10
I'm
out
gonna
of 10 show and everybody should watch
I'm
it.
down. I got it downloaded through the app, so that way while I'm on the plane, I can watch it.
You absolutely should. The dub is actually really good
Yeah,
too.
because I have this thing. Like when I'm on the plane, I bring movies with me on my phone or my tablet and this and that. So I always before takeoff, I have to put on Final Destination 1. Like it eases mind. What's the worst that can happen? Well, I already saw this. It can't get much worse than that. A little turbulence, no problem. At least I'm not flying to France, so I should be fine.
Mark's sitting there.
No, I did. I
Final
actually watched the
Destination.
whole entire first one when I flew back in 2019. I had it on and I watched it from start to finish. And I'm just sitting there and I could only imagine the people behind me like, why?
Watching Final Destination.
Who does that? Is he watching Airplane right after that?
Just like,
Like
yeah,
the Langoliers
is,
from
is,
Stephen King where they
is he
disappear?
watching Flight starring Denzel Washington?
Yeah. It's like,
Is our pilot a cokehead?
it's like, but yeah, no. So
Is
I'm
that
going to be,
Sully?
I was about to beat the Sully record. That was the next one. I was like, we're all upside down. But no, yeah. So I plan on catching up on that stuff. We should definitely do an anime episode at some point because
I'm
I was
down.
cause I'll have to tell you because like I planned themed months now. So one of the ones I've already made the graphics for, from a YouTube standpoint, May is going to be Ultra May instead of Ultraman. So I did the Ultraman logo where it says
Clever.
May. So I was going to do from podcasts and other stuff. I was going to do Anna May. Yeah. So podcast episodes are going to be anime themed because like I'm like, oh, because in October doing like the horror themes for all of October got really popular. People are like, you should do other themes, and I'm like, okay. It just sucks because I'm so original that like everything rhymes with the month of May.
I'm so original. Okay. And
Yeah,
modest.
I know. That's so breath of these great ideas. I was like, oh damn. But yeah, so I was like, I do want to do because like I hint that anime in the podcast. So this is really is an off brand. I do talk about manga and anime a lot more, especially with how readily available anime and manga are in the United States right now, and how we're seeing a shift in the comic book industry where My Hero and Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen and all these other ones are outselling Batman. They're outselling DC Comics as a whole. They're outselling Marvel as a whole, and we're seeing this
I think they're still
shift.
just too oversaturated. Like comics,
Well,
there's too many
another
runs of the
thing.
same
Well,
hero.
well, the thing is, they put My Hero under the category of graphic novels and superheroes instead of its own manga category. So My Hero's sales were actually boosting and fluffing the numbers for comic book superhero sales. So if you deduct that from it, it's actually a lot worse than it actually is because they're still in that category. And I'm like, guys, 74% of your superhero graphic novel sales are My Hero, which technically means it's manga, which means technically only 26% of these sales is actually comic books. I was like, that's not good. But at the same time, it's a thing where I was reading a lot of articles and doing research. A lot of people are actually just waiting for TV shows and movies to come out about the characters now. They're not wanting to read the comics. Like, oh, this will be a movie at some point. And
Well, it's
that's,
also like a lot of those shows, like especially with what Marvel's doing, they're very good,
yeah,
you know? So
yeah.
it's like, you can read the comic, if you're
I
the diehard, or you can wait for the show inspired by the comic
I
that's
read,
going to have movie quality production values, unlike Halo,
yeah,
and
ugh,
it is going to be
10
something
mil where?
everyone's going to be talking about. Like the thing is the comics don't get the traction that the shows do
No,
because the shows have that MCU appeal.
yeah. And the thing is,
The
like right
MCU is
now,
bigger than Marvel.
I'm reading legitimately zero DC comics now. I have none on my pull list. I have 3 Marvel comics on my pull list right now. Miles Morales, Spider-Man, as it should be.
Mhm.
The Hulk and Thor. Hulk and Thor are both are written by the same guy, Donny Cates. Miles Morales is Ahmed something Ahmed. I always forget his name, and I always
That Into
butcher
the
it.
Spider Verse doesn't come out till next year, right?
Oh, I think one comes out this year, part one at the end of the year,
Does it?
or is it 2023? No, it might be next year.
I'm gonna look
But
real
yeah,
quick.
other than that, I'm pulling a bunch of indie stuff, and then my manga. You can go to Target and get manga for $7 now.
Oh shit, you're right. 2022
Yeah, because it's 2 parts, and the second one comes out a year later.
in 2023. Yeah.
Yep, and so I think just from
Oh,
the
I can't
standpoint
wait
of
for
like,
that.
you know, when I do talk, I talk a lot more about anime now and a lot more about manga over comic books because you buy a manga volume for $7.99 at Target. It's got 6 chapters. That's 6 comic book issues in one for $7 compared to $4 for one issue. And they keep changing and rebooting Origins so much that it's not appealing to me personally. Um, but yeah, that's really it. All right. Any final Halo TV series thoughts you would like to put into the the void, the ether, the void?
I mean, watch the show, see what you think. We obviously care enough that we're going to keep watching it. Read those books, the Forerunner saga and the Kelly Gay trilogy of books.
And if you
Um,
have questions about all the books and the lore, where can they follow you on social media, Chris?
Nightmare CV. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Twitch. Um, you can also find me on my podcast, which has a new episode coming out this week.
I saw the tweet. I
Yeah,
saw the
the
announcement.
Half Gen podcast is back. We are a monthly show now, and you know what? It's working well for us. Now we have guaranteed topics to talk about. This episode, we shifted our scheduling. It was going to be a beginning of the month show, and then we shifted it to the end of the month. And so we have a lot to talk about now because we didn't
Right.
really have a show in February now, kind of.
You got some time. You got a good
But
nice
yeah,
time
so
window of
we've
things that
got
have
a
happened.
yeah, we got about 2 months to cover, but going forward, it's going to be like an end of the month kind of show. But
Nice.
yeah, I'm excited, and it's going to be good. I don't know that we're probably going to touch on Halo on there. Ross is an even more well-read fan than me because he's read more of the books than I have. Uh,
I know I thought about having you and Ross on there, but I felt from a scheduling standpoint, you have more flexibility.
yes,
Lining all
100%.
3 of us up at the same time would take a bit of work, and since I'm going to be traveling and everything else, I'm very lazy.
Yes, no, fair. That's
Yeah,
fair enough. But yeah, he is a more well-read fan of Halo than I am. But you have to be careful because we could literally talk about Halo for 4 hours and not realize we're doing it. So if you want to talk Halo, you can send any questions at Nightmare CV on Twitter, um, and I will bring them up in our podcast if you want to talk more Halo.
nice. Obviously, you're already listening to the show, so you know where you are. And if you're watching on
Where
YouTube,
am I?
and yeah, you're on Undername Mark podcast right now. This is episode 109. I had to
Wait,
look
a
again
nerd
at the
named
title
Mark. Wait, with a C or a K?
with a K.
I'm on the wrong
No,
show.
remember that? Okay, there's a meme going around where someone was like at Starbucks, they're like, "Oh, with a C or a K," and they said C, so they spelled it Kark, and I'm like, I hate that so much, and they do
I
that too
remember
now.
that.
Yeah, and there's places that'll do that as a joke, and I'm like, that is not funny. I was like, it is funny, but I don't want to enjoy. But
It's
yeah,
funny, but I don't like how it's funny.
right.
It's
If you
funny
guys
at
are,
my
yeah,
expense.
I was like, no, I like it when I'm laughing with things, not at things when that thing is me. But if you're watching this on YouTube and you see a little red button below the video screen, that means you're not subscribed. And honestly, that hurts my feelings because I think as of time of recording this, let us see. I know I'm vastly approaching 400 subscribers, and it's been a nice slow grind, but in the last I'm at 397. So the last couple months exploded. I think I've gained almost 40 subscribers in the last 27 days. So I thank everyone who's been stopping by. I've noticed the podcast video version is getting more views compared to the audio. And don't worry, all of you guys who are listening right now, I love you.
398.
Oh, Chris just subscribed.
I didn't realize I wasn't until you just mentioned
Betrayal.
it, and I was just like, "What?"
I know that's because everyone forgets this channel. Because okay, for
Wait,
those of you
hold
who
on.
are
I could do it again. Hold on.
new to this podcast, me and Chris had a website called Those Gamer Nerds,
Hell yeah.
and I had a YouTube for that, and there's still a lot of video stuff on there. And I had to make a new, it took me years to get back into my YouTube account I made in 2006. That's this account that you're watching this on, and I realized
3.99.
it got gutted with the Google Plus situation when they merged Google Plus with YouTube, and when Google Plus shut down, it closed down my channel. So starting back fresh has been rough. But if you guys see a red button, hit that. That means you subscribed. Chris, go follow him on Twitch. He streams Destiny and this vampire game that
Vampire
looks
Survivors is awesome.
so addicting that I bought it. Like I bought a majority of the games that you've streamed, and I haven't played them. And we need to play Core Keeper at some point.
I have it. I
Uh,
bought it.
I know we gotta play that. I'm like 15 hours in, and I beat one boss. But I thank you guys for listening. Nerd Network Podcast is on all listening platforms. You know, you just go to anchor.fm/ANNM podcast. It's on Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio,
Mark, I have good
Podbean.
news.
What?
I have 3 YouTube accounts. You're
I
at
have four.
400.
Woohoo! I was about to say we hit 400 live, but we're not live technically.
It's the same thing. Shut up. You hit
It
400.
counts. Woohoo! I don't have a popper with confetti
It
or
doesn't matter.
balloons.
I did. Just remember, I did that with
Birthday
my.
party skull.
That's what
But
happens when you have a YouTube account. Then you
right,
add that to a Google account. Then you turn
right.
the Google account into its own thing, so it becomes its own thing. And then you have a business Google account that can also subscribe.
That's why I have 3 extra on for mine as well. It's smart. It's like you'll never start at 0, honestly.
Yeah, no,
Because
you've always got at
yeah,
least 2.
yeah, it's kind of like the whole Toy Story. You got a friend in me. There you go. Boom.
Yeah.
You're your own best friend. You got it. But yeah, all podcast listening platforms. I'm still messed up the Amazon podcast thing. It's on Google Podcasts. I gotta go back in and fine tune to figure out what happened with the Amazon podcasts. But yeah, the main one I've
Yeah,
noticed.
because that was easy. I remember I
Yeah,
got my show on there. I just put my feed and they were like, okay, cool, you're done.
yeah, something happened and my feed wasn't updating. I had the same issue with Apple Podcasts at one point. I don't know what was going on. It was around the time they were upgrading the distribution from Anchor for Spotify when Spotify started doing video and all this other stuff, and now they're monetizing. There were some issues there and something happened with the feed. A couple episodes didn't go on iHeartRadio either, but that got resolved. Anchor.fm, not an ad. They're great. I contacted their support. They get back to you in a timely manner. So it will be up on Amazon Podcast at some point. New podcast logo and artwork for the cover page that shows up when you're listening to it on your favorite apps is going to be coming soon. I saw the rough draft of it. Looks good. Trying to upgrade some things, make things look a little more polished and nice. With that being said, that is it. That is the end of the episode. I have a special episode going live while I'm traveling. It is going to be Mark's unenthusiastic WrestleMania 38 preview and predictions because I'm unenthusiastic about WrestleMania and you should be too because there's no John Cena and there's no Rock. So what's the point?
When you're here, we should record a podcast.
Ooh, the lapels. Those
We
are
could do it
fancy.
on my phone. Yeah.
I
They're
know.
supposed to be really nice.
For those of you who don't
We should
realize,
do a live show.
for the first time since 2019, we are going back to the East Coast to hometown. So it's going to be nice to be back in the cold because it's 94 here and get to see everybody. We will have to talk off stream and see scheduling stuff because,
Yeah.
you know, but yeah, no, I want lapel mics. I want to get one so bad but I'm like, where's the situation where I'm going to use them? But for a standpoint of like 2 makes perfect sense. It'd be great. But now we're on a tangent. I'm ending the show. I'm
Yes.
ending it. If you're listening to this, it's going to be an abrupt ending. If you're watching this, I'm just waving my hands around like a madman while I end everything.
He's
So
not. He's lying.
thank
He
you.
just lied to you.
I know I just lied again. I'm sorry. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Once again, thank Chris, who now has the title for most podcast guest appearances.
I thought
Daryl
I
is
had
now
the
losing.
title. I thought it was a running title.
I had Daryl on for the Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City.
Don't you ever let him pass me again. Ever.
Okay.
Not even tie. You'll figure it out. Okay.
There's no tie. I think you're ahead by 2. I think you're actually ahead by 2 now because I had.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah.
And
no, you're ahead.
I want to keep the two.
It won't happen.
I'm taking pride
Well,
in this.
if we do the anime episode, you'll be up by 3.
There we go.
All right.
That's right,
Thank you,
Daryl.
Chris. Yeah. All right. I thank you for being on again, Chris. It's always
Yeah.
great to have you on here because we have long episodes and we talk a lot.
Yeah, it's a side effect of me.
It is. Some side effects may include long run on sentences, hour and 30-minute podcasts, and more knowledge in Halo. Take as